Hi, everybody. It's Ciara, Rolling Scene Librarian here. Time for a book talk, right? That. Oh, beep. My phone. I still don't know what button to push to make it turn off. I figured it out though. Okay, so today I was planning on doing another book, and then I didn't finish that book because one night I was like, I'm going to go to bed early. And instead of going to sleep, I read this entire graphic novel. Sometimes I just do silly stuff like that. And then I didn't finish the other book in time. So that book is going to be next week. Anyway, the book this week that I will be introducing is Bloom. There I am holding it up for you. It is by Kevin Panetta and Savannah Ganucheau. And I loved it, which, the fact that I started it and just finished it, even when I should have been going to sleep, kind of tells it. It's a beautiful graphic novel, perfect for pride. The main character's name is Ari. Ari just finished high school. I think he's just finished. He lives in a seaside town, and it begins with him moping at his sister's wedding. Until his family and friends convince him to dance. Now, why was he moping? Well, he's moping because he works at his family's beloved bakery. And what he thinks he wants is to move to the city with his band because he thinks, they can hit it pretty big. But he can't really do that because his parents, the bakery is kind of barely making it right now, and he can't just bail on them because then they wouldn't have enough help. And he's feeling sort of hemmed in by that, right? And he's not loving the bakery. It's feeling more like something he has to do. So then he thinks, well, what if I find somebody to replace me, right? If I find somebody to replace me, then the bakery can keep going on and I can go to the city. So he decides, he puts an ad in Craigslist, right? And then all the people who come to apply are either just like woefully inadequate, have no skills that would actually pertain, or have no skills period, or have no skills that pertain to working in a bakery and actually doing some of the baking in a bakery, right? Or they're just kind of crazy. And so he's feeling pretty down about that. And it's the day that the bakery is closed. I can't remember what day of the week it is, but somebody knocks on the door and he sort of climbs out of bed and he's like, what? And there's this young guy there who says, I want to apply for the job. And he's like, oh, we're not open today. If you come back tomorrow, we'll work out, And so I can't remember whether it continues that day or what. But anyway, the person who has applied is Hector. And Hector is a culinary school student, but he's in the beach town because his grandmother has died and she had a house there, and he was sent by his family to sort of clean it up. But he's found some peace there, so he's actually staying for a while anyway. And he sees this ad and he loves to bake, right? So he's like, oh, this is perfect. So when he does come by and explains this to Ari's like, oh my God, all right. Well, on your first day, I'm going to be there with you in case you need my help or whatever. And, Hector kind of seems too good to be true. But so then Ari doesn't actually stop working at the bakery. He just works with Hector there. And it takes some pressure off of his parents. And Ari isn't really spending time like practicing with the band or staying on top of like their visits to the city. He sort of, he sees his friends and everything, but he kind of just like leaves that part of him, like that part of his, what he had thought was his dream, just sort of to go. And this is what I think actually is most interesting about this book. Yes, it is. Well, first of all, as they're working together, Hector and Ari get closer and closer and closer and gradually fall in love, right? But what I think is super interesting about this book as a romance is that it's really honest about relationships in a way that a lot of sort of pop cultural romance isn't, which is to say that each person has a history, and just because it's, people are falling in love with each other doesn't mean that there won't be problems and that there won't be serious problems. And Ari, he's totally lovable and he's a sensitive guy, but he doesn't know what he wants. And you can sort of tell that because once he gets sort of swept up in like working with and hanging out, because they hang out too, they go to all these beautiful places. He shows them all these beautiful places. But as soon as he's really into that, like he doesn't pay attention to what he had said was, the thing he wanted. And I think that's because he doesn't really know what he wants. But in addition to that, Ari, he's not good at standing up for what he believes in or what is true. He doesn't stand up for Hector at one point when his friends come and they're being rude, both to and about Hector. And Ari doesn't really say, this is like early, but Ari doesn't say anything. He doesn't stand up to them and say, shut up. You're being rude and there's no, you can't do that. He just sort of like awkwardly laughs and then just doesn't do anything about it. And Hector, gets angry, as he should. And what's also interesting is that Hector has he has his own past, his own experiences. And, we find out about his ex-boyfriend. And he broke up with that guy because he was too clingy. And he tried to get Hector to fix all of his problems, even when they were his problems, not Hector's problems at all. He wanted Hector to fix everything, including problems about him. And eventually Hector realized, I cannot do this. This is not a good relationship. And he broke up with him because of it. And so there's this sense that Ari is kind of doing the same thing, he doesn't have a full self on his own. What does he want, And there's a pretty serious thing that happens, and Ari again fails to sort of step up, as one would hope. He still hasn't sort of grown up. He hasn't. Not only has he not figured out. Well, it seems like he hasn't figured out what he wants because he doesn't stand up and be honest. And while he's been spending most of the summer with Hector, the band has pretty much broken up, not in bad ways, and two of them have gotten together, and those two are going to move to a different city and pursue their musical interests. And they're also a couple. And so when he finds this out, he's so upset, but they're sort of like, well, you just found out. What does that say? So anyway, they do split, but over the course of the book, once they've split over the course of his pain and his loneliness, because he does go to the city and stays with that couple, but they're not the it's a hetero couple, and the guy in that couple is not the greatest guy, and they're not really his friends. And he feels terrible, and he doesn't know what he's doing, and he's, it's horrible. And so he goes back home, and he finally figures some stuff out, and it's only after that experience, and after he's had to sort of have that painful experience of growing up and having to deal with the fact that he has to decide what his future is going to be based on what he loves, not on what somebody else thinks he should do, not on whatever, but he needs to do what he loves. And it's only then that sort of things come together for Ari. And people are really proud of him, including you as a reader. And things sort of, they do end happily, but I'm not gonna tell you all about that. But what I really like about this book is that the characters you'll fall in love with them, but it's also sort of a beautifully drawn book that explores the role of each individual's responsibility for themselves. And you can't be in a positive, loving relationship, unless you've got yourself sorted, unless you know what you want. You're grown up enough to take responsibility for what you want and your decisions. And you feel comfortable standing up for those things. And when they first fall in love, Ari really isn't there yet. But he gets there. And I just really liked the way that this didn't just sort of fulfill our desire, for a great romance. It showed us that, a really great romance is complicated. And a good relationship is complicated, and it requires work. And yeah, so it's beautiful. You love these characters, but they need to go through some things, and they need, love is not without conflict, and it never is. A really loving relationship is never without conflict. It's how you deal with that conflict, both with regard to the other person and with regard to yourself. And so I really dug it. I definitely suggest it. And look how cute they are. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. So I love them. And his dad is very lovable. His parents are lovable. And Hector sees them as lovable before Ari does. But I think it's a great book, and I definitely recommend it. I'm going to check it back in so that you can check it out. It's sort of a classic in the LGBTQ plus canon, and there's a reason for that. So yeah, great book. Hanging out, teen hangout later on this early evening, I guess 5:30. So I hope to see some of you there. And I haven't been putting my book talks on the calendar because I thought I had put them on and I hadn't. So anyway, I just put them back on. Anyway, I hope everybody is taking care of themselves. Honestly, I've been having a really up and down week. I had a really, really bad day the other day. And I was feeling really alone and really tired. And I had some tough sort of relationship stuff that I couldn't deal with because I was too tired and I was already having a bad day. And, it turned out okay. But, you know what? I'm feeling some lonesomeness. I came here during the pandemic, haven't made a ton of friends. So I know I've got my own mental health stuff to deal with. And, it's added, I'm just stressed and it's not the easiest time to be alive. So I want to encourage everybody to pay attention to how you're feeling. And if you're, I had a couple of bad days and I felt really bad on one day. Now, the way I understand how I feel is based a lot on how I've felt for a long time. And I have a pretty good sense of where things might get dangerous because they have been in the past. So I haven't been in a dangerous place, but if you're getting scared, if you're feeling so bad that either you're feeling scared or you're feeling like, screw it, I'm done. Things can get better, even if you don't believe it. Things got better for me, and I definitely didn't believe that they ever would. And I'm thankful every day that I managed to suffer through until they did get better. It took a lot of heart to suffer through, and it took a lot of help. So if you're suffering and you don't have faith in the future, ask for help from somebody you trust. If there isn't somebody, an adult that you really trust, call a crisis line. Okay? You can trust those people. They won't judge you. They'll listen. They won't make light of you. Having been in a bad place, a really bad place, I know how hard it can be to tell people that. Because you think, why would I tell people? I'm just making their lives worse by saying it. The truth is, how you understand your value or whether people should care about you is totally worked. And people do care about you. They want you to be okay. Even if you think I'm full of shit for saying that, it's true. So ask for help. Even if you think you don't deserve it or you think you don't even want it. You owe it to people in your life who love you. Okay? All right, enough of that serious talk. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and I will see you next week. Check out Bloom. It's super fun. And enjoy Pride Month, National Pride Month, and when August comes, Pueblo's Pride. All right? Okay. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.